Welcome to the Sly Tiger Gaming Podcast. My name is Christian, editor of f5.net.nz, and I'm your host for episode 2. For those of you who are new, the Sly Tiger Gaming Podcast is a fortnightly show that covers gaming news, opinions, and beyond. You can download the podcast exclusively from f5.net.nz. For this episode, we'll be exploring what our panel thinks the future holds for the gaming industry. So first, let's introduce the panel. From Punked Pyro Shadow and Digital Makeup... From Punked Pyro Shadow, a digital makeup and design company, we have Amy. It's a lovely intro.
You introduced me. I didn't need to say anything else.
That's fine. We have Twitch streamer Todd, also known as slytiger27.
Yay! Hi!
And we also have avid/casual gamer David.
Woo! Casual gaming. Hello, everyone.
Cool, so before we get into the nitty-gritty stuff, I want to hear what everyone's been playing this week. So, Amy, tell me what you've been playing this week.
One of the games that Todd really hates, Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines. I've been replaying that. And I also briefly played Gone Home off of Steam, but didn't really finish it, as I got sidetracked with Vampire Masquerade.
Okay, so you have poor choice in gaming. That's good to know.
No.
I'm not the only person who hates that game. I think that's widely regarded as a pretty terrible game.
No, it's widely regarded as pretty good. The whole different endings and yeah.
David, what have you been playing this week?
I've been playing Spellforce, a ridiculously old RTS game.
How old?
Did someone just die? What was that noise?
It's 2004.
I think I hit the desk.
Amy's jaw just dropped.
Okay, so how old was it, David?
2003.
2003, hella old. Todd, what have you been playing this week?
I have been playing Final Fantasy X-2, the HD remaster. I got you, Christian, to hack into it so that I could have all the NPC characters as monsters, because I wasn't going to play through the game once and then do it again, just have them. But an unintentional side effect is that they're all OP as shit, and so they're all casting spells like Ultima on the first go against like level 2 and 3 enemies, so these things with like 30 hit points are taking like 15,000 damage, and it's a little bit overwhelming. But I'm powering through the game now. I'm making record time. It's great.
Do you feel like you've achieved something?
No, not at all.
Okay, in regards to myself, I've been playing Killzone Mercenaries on the PlayStation Vita. It's actually a really decent and very pretty first-person shooter for a Vita title. Okay, so just moving on to some recent games news. Today, Tekken 7 was announced.
Yay!
I have
It's still going?
Yes, it is still
Yes.
going.
It will never end.
Well, this thing says it's the final one or something, or the final battle.
Yeah, it'll be the final battle between those two characters, and we've still got, 80 more characters to go?
Yeah.
There's not 80 characters. You're being
There will be by the time we get to Tekken.
If you count all of the ones from the first all the way up until now, there's probably more than 80. Though they did keep reusing some, they would keep changing them too.
Well, does that mean we count Yoshimitsu 7 times?
Maybe.
Okay, so the reason why I bring it up is they haven't really gone into much detail as to what the gameplay is going to be like. All they did was they released a very dark and eerie trailer and a little bit of a snippet from the Tekken creator who said the game will be on the latest Unreal Engine. Now, my real issue with that, and the question I want to ask the panel is, do you really care that the first thing that came out of the creator's mouth is that the game will run on the Unreal Engine, or would you much rather hear something more substantial from a launch announcement? Amy?
Well, for that kind of game, I wouldn't care that it's on the Unreal. It's just if it was Assassin's Creed saying it was on Unreal, maybe, but it's just a fighting game. It doesn't need the latest and greatest physics engines and all that crap. You're just beating each other to a pulp.
David?
No, I got to agree. Unreal Engine, really don't care.
And what about you, Todd?
I completely disagree. You need to remember that this announcement was made at EVO, the fighting game tournament. So all the people there, they're your core, like really hardcore, like they're watching all the frames per second on each move, like they know all the moves back to front, they, beat you in the face if you started button mashing. Like these people are really serious about this, and they make a lot of money from these tournaments, so they want to know details of like what engine it's going to be running on, how fast it's going to be, what platforms it'll be on, that sort of stuff. But it really was just sort of a trailer just saying this is a thing. And the Unreal Engine 4 thing, when I first saw it, I thought it's kind of weird that they point that out, but then you just remember where they've announced it, and that kind of gives you an idea. They just did it because they wanted people to know that they're putting it on a decent engine, and they're not just gonna put it on their own one, because Tekken 6 was pretty bad. Pretty bad.
I sort of exist both camps. I understand where Todd's coming from, basically saying that, yeah, the core audience that was listening at the time do actually highly care about that sort of stuff. It does sort of say to me that there's no new mechanics or no new not there would be new characters. There would be much else new come to the game, which sort of scares me off a bit. I would have liked to hear if there was any new Tekken mechanics or new game modes they were going to bring in. I thought that could have equally excited a bunch of tryhards.
But it's just a teaser trailer. Like it's just to say this exists. They'll go into detail about all the new characters, because there'll be new characters.
Yeah.
They've always included new characters in Tekken games, so all that sort of stuff's coming. This is not like a full-on.
There's normally some big gimmick that people generally announce with a thing to try and get you excited, and Unreal Engine being their gimmick is a pretty crap one, even for hardcore fans of it. They needed maybe like, we're gonna do with whatever, is it the move or
just
something?
Some gameplay footage would have been great. Just showing something from it, just so you can see it, would have been fantastic. But no, they just haven't got anything that they want to show yet, I guess.
Cool, so that's
Tekken bowling. No, it has to be the next Tekken bowling. That.
To be honest, if they showed, was it Tekken volleyball or beach volleyball, the same core demographic would have still been wetting themselves.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is it Unreal Engine can digitize each boob individually?
This is not Dead or Alive. This is Tekken. They jiggle at the same time.
But the butt cheeks, they move differently, just so the males get their fix. As everyone
I think
realizes.
that's a perfect way to end that conversation. Just Amy.
So let's move on to our first question. So, reminding everyone, the theme of today's podcast is the future of the gaming industry. So I'm going to ask 3 very pointed questions, so we don't end up babbling on about Narnia and what's not. No futuristic Narnias.
Yeah, Narnia.
So, question number 1. In 10 years' time, what do you think the home gaming experience will be like? Will we still have that sort of duopoly of console versus PC? So, David, what are your thoughts?
I definitely think it'll be a lot more integrated than it is now. Maybe a la Steam Machine sort of thing. Just bringing the computer and console experience together. I still think cheap consoles will be around though, kind of separate from that. Just for people who don't want to pay out a ton of money, but yeah.
Okay. Todd, thoughts?
I don't see any of the big 3 giving up that lounge room dominance anytime soon. Nintendo's kind of been muscled out of there since the Wii kind of lost its trendiness, so they're probably the most in danger of the 3 for being irrelevant. But I still think they'll have their place. It just might not be as strong as they'd like it. I don't think Sony or Microsoft are going to go anywhere. The Steam Machines is kind of the wild card. It in theory, it sounds like a great idea, but they're so expensive. And the controls are not like. This is always going to be your controller. Like, you don't have to use the Steam controllers with it. And who's going to want to play... Like, the whole point of PC gamers, in my opinion, well, from what I knew at least, is that they always were championing how better it is to play with mouse and keyboard and stuff for your first-person shooters. So then to have that weird Steam controller, which might end up being fantastic, but I haven't had any hands-on with it. I don't think many people have. I don't know how it's going to translate well into the lounge room space. But I don't think... Yeah, I think David's definitely right in terms of integration. You're going to find that these consoles are going to try and be more ubiquitous. I think it's the right word. But they're going to just try and be everything but just a console. They're going to be your media players. They're going to be basically they want to be the centerpiece of your lounge room, and the device that does that, that's going to be where your future goes, I think. Whichever one can do that, whoever gets there first is sort of going to have that power move. And it might even be Apple. It won't be, but it could be Apple.
Let's not swear online, please. Amy?
Yeah, I sort of agree with Todd with the whole, it will be people trying to have their console being the almost everything, but not quite. You're definitely still going to have the PC master race versus the console gamers, and the both. But like what Xbox tried to start doing with their TV this, TV that, no games last time. Last E3, not this one. But yeah, like that is going to get pushed more, that it's going to be the full home entertainment system, and we're going to keep getting more people trying to throw in augmented reality crap everywhere, like the Oculus Rift and stuff. I think it's going to take a while before that sort of thing really takes off, though, because there's a lot of people complaining they get motion sickness, as is already from them.
Yeah, but think about the cost, like, benefit stuff. Farmville in virtual reality, I mean,
would be amazing.
Yeah, but we don't have virtual reality. We just have augmented reality, and most of it's pretty bad so far, from what I'm told. It's much better for the movies than for gaming so far.
I do worry that virtual reality is going to not make it, almost die out a little bit. Because
I think it's more of a 20-year away kind of thing, not 10 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. But what I was going to say in terms of that whole Microsoft TV thing, they got such a bad reaction to that. I don't think they're going to go running back to that anytime soon. And I think that's kind of only become more cemented in the fact that they're now unbundled the Kinect. So
to make it cheaper.
Yeah, because they needed to do something, because the console wasn't selling. The games weren't selling it. The devices weren't selling it. The promise of TV, it only really works in America.
Yeah, that was their problem, that they didn't quite realize how the rest of the world is not America.
I don't think the whole TV thing is different. It's going to be.
But I more meant the whole they're trying to be your entire media in one sort of thing, which is what they tried to do, but no.
If they were smart,
they failed pretty miserably at it.
The key, I think, in getting to that space is to champion the gamer first. So having that console that has all the games, it's got everything. Having that already in there.
Yeah.
And then you introduce the TV stuff to get the wider audience coming in.
Yeah. So that the parents are more happy to buy it for their children because, hey, they can still save Shortland Street or whatever the hell it is that adults watch these days.
Well, they say
parents.
The golden mark, I think, it's either $199 or $299 US. And once the device hits that price point for consoles, that's when you start seeing that huge upswing and, everyone having it. Once it hits that golden price point range, that's when you can start selling your game and having 8 or 9 million copies selling because there's just so many consoles. So
yeah,
it's a big thing for the US for some strange reason. That golden market's worked for so many devices, like Android tablets, smartphones, other products. Like Kindles, just the minute they hit that, I don't know, that magic number, they just sell like hotcakes.
It's just it's an easy justifiable price point. It's not too high, it's still not cheap, but it's I can get all that for that price. Yeah, I'm going to go in.
Yeah.
It must be sort of a number that just deals well with people's income levels, sort of the core demographic.
Yeah.
So I agree with all of you in sort of 10 years time it's going to merge together. You can see the bands sort of coming together. I mean, you've got Netflix, which is an online, and Hulu, so the PlayStation, Xbox can do online. The micro Android consoles, they will still exist maybe. I mean, at the moment you can see Apple and Apple and Amazon are investing heavily in them, and at the end of the day, if Apple invests in something, it's going to be around for a little bit longer than a standard trend. And Google used to have a shot at this a while ago, and now they've come back. So we can see that hanging around, whether it'll be there in 10 years' time. One thing I want to champion is, and it's sort of why the Steam machines are being conceptualized now, is I don't think the home PC will exist in the same capacity in 10 years' time. And now we saw the same thing with tablets that basically took the internet surfing clientele off the computer market. So people who just use the laptop for just browsing the web, just Facebook, they've now moved on to tablets. And Windows is really not doing any favors for the gamers. Windows 8 is known for not being gamer friendly.
Really? I had more problems with Windows 7 than I've been having with Windows 8.
It's more the coding, so the hardware works lovely and fine, but Windows didn't have the gaming market at heart. They sort of just championed DirectX 11 and left at that, and that's what really pissed Steam's owner off. That's why he got really ranty, because at the end of the day, Windows 8 is a whole new built operating built from scratch, and I don't think he saw a single code that sort of championed gaming for it, which is why they're pushing that Linux side of things, because Linux is free, Linux can be coded the way you want it. And so I think in 10 years' time, that PC gaming market's going to sidle off to these new PC consoles. I mean, you look at it now, Xbox, PS4, Steam machines, they're all using PC parts.
But you've got to remember that those Steam machines, they're ludicrously priced.
Yeah,
We're
I
talking
wouldn't buy
10 years' time.
a Steam machine. I just wouldn't get one. From
It's too
everything
expensive.
I've seen of it, it's too expensive, and I could get the same thing for way cheaper and build my own computer, probably with better parts.
Yeah.
And
I
then
agree
if I
with
want a controller, PlayStation, Xbox, well, actually I don't know if PlayStation 4 does, but the Xbox controllers all work, plug straight into the computer. Well, Xbox One's getting its code thing.
But I was more sort of pointing out in 10 years' time when these things, because the Steam machine is literally just a PC.
But are they going to come down in price? So that's the thing, because the reason why they're so expensive is because they're those meant to be, quote unquote, high-end PC game devices, and those games that run so well on PC, they only really run well when they're on those really expensive PCs. So you kind of got this continuous cycle where the better the games look, the better they perform, they need that high-quality PC. And if you're buying a dedicated... I mean, there'll definitely be a market for it, but I can't see it being a huge, big market. I think it'll be a very
I think it'd be small. Because most, hardcore gamers I know that do the computer rather than the console, it's because they can constantly update their parts to the latest and greatest to play the latest and greatest game. But if you buy a console, you know it's going to take a few years till the next one comes out, and that everything has the same compatibility.
But over the course of the time, things get cheaper. Like an i5 processor 5 years ago was about 3 times the amount. So I think that's what... I mean, at the moment, Steam is just a concept, and all concepts start off exorbitantly expensive. And I don't think in 10 years' time it's still going to be called the Steam machine. I think it'll be more of a concept. But I can very much see a market in the future where a console, either it's owned by PS4 or Xbox, or maybe some other third party has their hand in it, like Gigabyte's looking at doing at the moment, and Lenovo. You have a box in your house and it does everything, and you can play your PC-esque games. I don't know how they're going to do the software, or your PS4 games, and you can choose to play it on the home TV, or maybe even you've got your own dedicated desk, and maybe it streams it to it. The internet's going to get a lot more powerful in sort of 10 years' time.
Not in New Zealand.
We'll sort of leave it there.
Too real.
So moving on to question 2, which is about portable gaming. So same time period, 10 years' time. Where do you see gaming on the go in 10 years' time? And will we still have dedicated portable consoles? Let's start with Todd.
Yes. You don't get the same experience that you get on a dedicated handheld device like a 3DS or a Vita that you do on a tablet or mobile phone. There is something special about having buttons to actually push. Although the same games are starting to translate over, like Dragon Quest VIII, which was an old PlayStation 2 game that's been ported to Android. And it just, they don't control well. You don't have the same level of control you'd get with proper buttons. I think there's definitely a place for them, especially, like, you look at the 3DS and the terms of software it's got. You've got, Mario Kart, and all the other Nintendo franchises. I can't remember them all, but there's heaps of them. They all sell really well. I mean, if you're looking at the Vita and the Vita alone as the vanguard for dedicated handheld gaming, yeah, you'd be right to be concerned. But you look at the 3DS. 3DS is killing it. The 3DS is going to save the handheld. It's not saving, sorry. 3DS is pretty much pulling solely the handheld gaming market. Android and mobile, I mean, they include in the sales for mobile gaming all that rubbishy stuff as well, like Flappy Bird, those sort of things. I know that game doesn't actually cost anything, but some of them do. But they include all that sort of like trendy rubbish in there. So that gets counted as, oh my god, mobile phone sales are just skyrocketing better than anything else. But it's a different experience. I think that you can definitely have room for both in there, but I don't think you're going to lose either or. There's definitely a market out there for dedicated handheld gaming devices.
Okay, David, 10 years time?
Yeah, I don't find myself disagreeing with Toddle that much, to be honest. I think they'll both be around. I do think that as time goes on and people think of new and innovative ways to integrate games onto handheld devices like the iPhone or smartphones, that they will get better. But I still think there'll be dedicated handheld consoles around. And I don't see Nintendo ever moving on from the idea, given how stubborn they can be. They'll still be trying to push a dedicated handheld console in 10 years' time, no matter what.
Okay. Amy, do you have an opposing belief?
Yes and no. Like, pretty much, I reckon the only kind of handheld, other than cell phones and tablets, like, they'll take up most of the casual. But so long as Nintendo keep pushing out Pokemon games and the like, they will keep having them. But things like the PS Vita, like, no one seems... Well, it's selling, not as well.
Yeah,
and I wonder if things like that will still be around, or if only Nintendo... Like, I mean, new companies might try and come up with them, but I think Nintendo is the only thing that's going to keep handheld consoles going properly. Otherwise, everyone that played the kind of smaller, casual games have pretty much moved to tablets and cell phones. I mean, you can put Zelda and Pokemon on your phone, but like Todd said, there's a difference between pushing an actual button and without pulling out a super old cell phone to do it. So, and that's probably why, Nintendo will pretty much be the only reason why they will keep going in 10 years.
Where's Pete when you need it?
Oh, God, I know.
Mobile device fiend in terms of gaming.
Well, I'll try and channel a little bit of Pete.
Somewhere his ears are twitching.
Yeah. Or maybe just check his Facebook messages. So, yeah, I can see two futures. I really do agree with you a lot because, at the end of the day, Nintendo's quite stubborn. There is a really strong market that wants those dedicated buttons. Also, the battery life. You're playing games on an Android phone these days, and you're thrashing your phone, and you've got to go out and make a decision. Do I want to play Pokemon Blue, or do I want to be able to call my friends later when I'm going out? But at the end of the day, I think you hit the nail on the head where you said Nintendo is going to be the vanguard. If Nintendo starts to bleed money, maybe say their next console or two doesn't work that well, maybe they start getting desperate. Maybe, and these are all very maybes. I know Nintendo's a very strong company at the moment, but just look what happens in the dark of times with some companies. If Nintendo folds, if Nintendo has a bad couple of quarters and it becomes an issue, and they fold and they're willing to sell things like the Pokemon franchise and make the money on Android, then it's all game over. It'll just become mobile, and the casual gamer will have...
Disney would explode if they sold Pokemon.
But there's so much potential for money to be made on Android if they took that, if they were allowed to use that,
Well, I guess with that, the thing you got to remember is franchise integrity. Like, I don't know if they suddenly took Pokemon and monetized the shit out of it. No one would probably stick with it. You might have a few people who wouldn't know otherwise, but I think you'll find a huge chunk of that user base would just be like, I don't want this. This is not what I want. Get rid of it.
So yeah, it's here with that. I do agree with the main consensus here, especially the point Amy made about the casual market. That casual market, 5 or 10 years ago, that was like, oh, I want to play something on the go. I do a lot of travel. We're kind of forced to fork out for a PSP or a Nintendo DS. They may have only bought 1 or 2 games. I know a couple of people who... I had a family member who did that, and they ended up buying the DS and one of those Professor Layton games, and it's sat in their living room ever since. You can write your name on the dust, and because they didn't quite get it, but for them, things like Android and stuff like that, it's a real big kicker for them because they can get Flappy Bird, they can play Bejeweled. But I really do think we'll all be looking to Nintendo. If Nintendo crumbles,
Cell phone
Oh,
gaming pretty much killed Facebook gaming.
Yeah.
I think
It-
Facebook-
And again, I kind of
itself.
block everyone that sends friend requests on those things,
Yeah, I
so
hate that.
maybe that could be.
I did see a lovely tweet the other day. It was like, Sarah who said no to me going to the prom, and I see
Yeah.
your Farmville request, or the tables have turned.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so moving on, last and final question.
Yay. I mean, no. Oops.
Keen beans. Okay, so 10 years' time, the internet and its hardware surrounding the internet is going to be stronger. Harder, better, faster, stronger. Daft Punk. And a lot of games right now are utilizing online, even if it's just needs to connect to the internet to verify that you own that game. Do you think there will be such thing as an offline video game? Let's start with David.
Yeah, definitely. I do think that the trend will be towards more games with online connectivity, but there'll always be indie game makers out there who really won't care. They'll just make games and bring them out, and people will get them.
And Amy?
Yeah, I sort of agree. Like, I know the whole authentication thing, everyone wants you to connect at least once to try and prove
wants
that
to
you
connect
did.
with us once. It's a Microsoft.
No, not just them.
Stop the fanboyisms.
Most of the, like, to validate games that, or like even software, like Adobe and the like, they all want you to connect to the internet at least that one time to confirm to their database that you actually brought it, because unfortunately if they put somewhere in their disk their code to say yes, this key matches, well, someone's going to find it and crack it pretty easily. So, and I'd say it's the same for games, but it's right, like indie developers care a little less about that. It's more the big corporations. But so it sort of depends on if you mean offline, like never connect to the internet ever, just buy it and it never has to go. Maybe not, because most of the small ones that you'd buy like that, you'd probably download or buy off Steam or something. But yeah, I don't know.
Todd, what are your thoughts?
I think the amount of games that come out with no or zero internet connectivity will be minimal. I don't necessarily think that every single game is going to force you to connect online, although that is a bigger trend with a lot of AAA games. I mean, when was the last time you put an Assassin's Creed game into your console and it didn't try to connect to the internet 100 times before you started playing? But I think there's also other ways that they're thinking of introducing online. Like, I was just looking at Final Fantasy X-2, the HD remaster of that, and that game supports cross-save to their cloud. So you can play it on PlayStation 3 and upload your save to the cloud and then download that save onto your Vita and carry on there. So it's got internet connectivity in that aspect, but the actual game itself doesn't need to be online, if you know what I mean. Like, so I think that more and more titles will have internet connectivity, but I don't think it'll be mandatory outside of that really hardcore AAA gaming experience, like your Call of Duties and stuff. I think even like your next, like, I would be surprised if Final Fantasy 15 didn't try to connect the internet for something, even if it's just DLC or something. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to be on the up. It's just going to get more and more prevalent in your games, but I don't think every game will force you to have internet or anything.
So to elaborate on this point a little bit more, so I'll ask another question. So with these games coming out, with the internet being a lot more powerful in 10 years' time, I can assume the hard drive space will be bigger, the bandwidth will be wider. Do you foresee games utilizing the ability to connect the internet more? So just an example would be maybe a game that wants to do maybe they want to plan 2 games of it, maybe a sequel. Maybe they sell 1 copy and they just constantly sell more and more DLC because it's easier, it's quicker, it's spaced out more. So just more of this digital content coming because the internet now can facilitate it. What are your thoughts? Todd? Go back to you.
That sounds like an awful idea. I wouldn't buy or support a game that released and then put out its sequel directly to your same device. Like, no, that just sounds really messy.
What about Walking Dead and so that's sort of
sorry,
sequential. What? So Walking Dead and they're sequential over the internet.
But that's a very specific example, and that's not a good example.
And Wolf Among Us and all the other
like
ones they're doing.
Those are episodic point-and-click adventures. Like, buying into that it's going to be 5 episodes released over time. I mean, you couldn't do that with Call of Duty.
No.
You wouldn't have a Call of Duty game come out and they're like, here is the first mission. You will have the rest of the missions released over the next X months. Although I wouldn't be surprised if someone tries that down the line at some point. But
yeah.
It's very, very messy, and I think that it only is a successful model because Telltale Games had a running hit with their first one, the first Walking Dead, and now with the other ones as well. So I think that for that particular type of game, it's a good delivery method. But I don't think, can you imagine Mario Kart coming out and they're like, oh yeah, so you'll get Mario and Peach and Luigi, but everybody else will release periodically over the next 6 months, and you have to pay up front for it. People just wouldn't support it. So it depends on the franchise and the actual type of game model that you're using. But I think honestly, in terms of the internet and that going forward, I think you're going to see more of games getting really lazy in terms of assets. So the game itself will be, here's the disc, rah. Okay, it's patch, 4 or 5 patches before you actually get to play the game on launch day. They'll just patch all these things out rather than testing it and stress testing first. They'll just be like, oh, this doesn't work, okay, patch it. Oh, this doesn't work, patch it. And you'll find your hard drive is used up of just patches for games, because we started seeing a lot of that, of the, a lot of last gen. A lot of games started doing that, and it hasn't slowed down this gen, so.
Okay, David, any thoughts on the future of the power of the internet and gaming?
Didn't I already go?
No, I extended the question.
No, Todd's pretty much covered it. I fully support you, Todd.
Yeah.
And,
damn right you do.
Amy?
Yeah, I agree that's pretty much that only works for particular kinds of games. You couldn't do it with Call of Duty, but you've got things like the Telltale games, or like Minecraft, which released, its different patches still going, because that's not a real, story or anything, and you can keep doing stuff with or without the extra updates. But yeah, it only works for a particular sort of game. Assassin's Creed tried to do that a little bit with how you could then go and buy extra downloadable content, but you knew that it wasn't going to be anything major or big. It was just kind of added on extra fluff that you could buy later to waste more money, to give them more money.
I was waiting for the Assassin's Creed.
I think an MMO would be another good example for that.
Yeah.
You've got your World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy get online ones, and they World of Warcraft in particular, that's coming out 10 years maybe soon. It's been going forever.
I think 2016 will be 10 years from memory.
I thought it was started sooner than that.
No, we looked at it recently at work. Carry on, I'll quickly look it up.
No, it's fine. I'm not really bothered, but anyway.
MMOs would work too.
Yeah, that's also one where these, that game, that's a really good example of a model that works well with a game being released in X state, and then, Y state and Z state get released later on as they make their content.
Okie dokie, so that's that. So let's move on to the bet side of the podcast. So this week's bet, I want you guys to guess who the upcoming Super Smash Bros. Character that they're going to announce in about 12 hours is going to be. I
have a list of everyone who's been announced so far.
Okay.
Shall I read out the list?
Yep, so Todd can read out the list so we all don't double up on something.
Okay.
I'll end up doubling up anyway.
So far they have announced Pac-Man, Ike, Charizard, Palutena, Yoshi, Shriek, Mii Fighters, Zero Suit Samus, Diddy Kong, Greninja, Lucario, King DDD, Little Mac, Zelda, Marth, Rosalina and Luma, Sonic, Toon Link, Peach, Luigi, Pikmin and Olimar, Mario, Donkey Kong, Villager, Link, Samus, Mega Man, Kirby, Fox, Wii Fit Trainer, Pikachu, Bowser, and Pit.
That was a lot of names. Okay.
I think I knew some of those.
Same here.
Yeah.
David, what's your bet?
All right, so I will preface this. I have owned one Nintendo product. It was a Game Boy, and I was 12. So Nintendo is not my brand of choice, but I'm going to say Bayonetta.
Ooh, that's a good guess.
That is actually.
Yeah.
Maybe
She might be a little bit racy for it, but I would say
Yeah.
that she's a strong bet. I hope she'd be in it.
Amy.
Yeah, Nintendo. I'd probably go, well, they've got, like, was it Pikachu, and it was either Charmander or Charizard or one of them, so I'll go with, like, Bulbasaur, just get them all in there, maybe a Squirtle, or a Pokemon, another Pokemon I reckon they'll add in. Whatever those newest and latest, like, the chair or whatever it is. I don't know what generation they're up to.
Todd?
I was really glad she didn't say it because I thought she was about to say my answer. I half hoping, half thinking it's going to be Jigglypuff. I want Jigglypuff in there. Jigglypuff would be fantastic, but I think out of the 3 bets we've got here, Bulbasaur / Squirtle or whatever. Which one did you end up picking?
Well, I don't know the names of any of the newer ones for the new generation, but, one of the starter Pokemon, pretty much,
Well, they
of
could
whatever
get
the
one
generation.
starters of the new Ruby Sapphire coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the new equivalents are.
Mudkip.
But they've already got a few Pokemon in there. So they've got Charizard, Greninja, Lucario.
Yeah, see, I didn't know
Pikachu.
half of those.
Maybe there's too. There's too many so far, so maybe not enough Pokemon.
Okay, so just to recap, the reason why we're betting is the winner of the bet gets to choose our outro music next time for the next podcast. That's obviously why I said next time. So my bet is Shulk. Just no Shulk is a
Who?
Shulk.
Who's that?
Long-term old Nintendo character.
From what?
I have no idea.
Oh, I want to change my bet.
To what?
Amy can have Jigglypuff. I
I
think
don't want Jigglypuff.
you want Jigglypuff. I'm gonna. It might come back and kick me in the butt later, but I'm gonna do a last-minute switch, and I think it'll be the Ice Climbers.
They were in the last one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are a lot of these characters.
I know. It's not exactly
It's okay, we'll all be wrong, and it'll be like Shadow or Tails.
No, it'll be. Was it Pink, Gold, Mario?
Pink, Gold, Peach.
Pink, Gold,
Do they have Daisy yet? It could be Daisy.
No, she's a palette swap for Peach. Peach can change her hair color to yellow, not yellow, orange. In the
How
Smash
sad
Bros.
is that? We've got 2 female characters. Let's turn them into 1.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
Okie dokie. So harking back to last episode's bet, that one was championed by Todd.
Yeah.
He put forward that we should guess the best in show of E3 2014 as nominated by the game critics. So Amy selected Batman Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
Peter, who's not here today, who would pretend as David so we can shame him, picked Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege.
You're
Yeah.
awful at everything you do.
that was like him, right? Yeah.
I picked No Man's Sky and Todd picked Evolve. Now,
Yeah, you did.
Todd won. Todd won with Evolve. It also won Best Action Game as well as Best Online Multiplayer, so good pick
Yeah, it
there.
did.
Don't worry, Amy. Your Batman game got Best Action Adventure.
Yeah. I knew it won something. I didn't know what, though.
But you
David-
still lost. Just so you're clear.
Yeah, so we're
Yes,
handing out second and third place here. David/Peter, the Tom Clancy game won Best PC title, and my
Also-
No Man's Sky won Best Original Game, Best Independent Game, and got a special commendation for its innovation, apparently.
But the only award that's important is Best of Show, which is what the bet was on. So I win.
Okay, so as winner, Todd will be introducing us very soon to the song that we're going to be outroing to. It's going to be off OC Remix. And so tell us, Todd, what is your song?
Okay, so I picked one in honor of Tekken 7's announcement today. So the remix I've chosen is called Get Ready for the Next Battle, remixed by Ivan Hackstock. It's a remix of a whole bunch of different Tekken songs, and yes, I'm going to list them all. So, deep breath. It is the stage themes of Jin Kazama, Lei Wulong, Nightfall's Ending, Nina Williams, Plucking Tulips Tulip Festival, Yoshimitsu, and also mixed in with the Tekken Tag Tournament Piano Intro Massive Mix.
Wow.
And it can be
Is that all?
Yeah. I'm not finished yet. It can be found as part of OC Remix's Apex 2014 A New Challenger album, or you can find it at ocremix.org and just search for Tekken in the search bar.
Thank you very much. So that has been episode 2 of the Sly Tiger Gaming podcast. I'd like to, for my panel now, to say goodbye. Panel, say goodbye.
Bye.
That was lovely and heartfelt. And
Bye, everyone. We love you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone, and we will see you on episode 3. Good night.
Why did you say good night?
I don't know.
Who's clicking?
Me.
It might be nice for some people, isn't it?
It's fine. I can edit that.
Oh no, leave it alone.